terms of the ground reaction forces, I would say his backswing's over before the club even moves.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I'm with Dr. Scott Lynn in his studio. Hey Scott, how are you?
Studio.
Yeah, in this. So Scott, what we're talking about today is there's been a lot of discussion and stuff about what happens like from the top, you know, and really, if you know, the top usually in different golf tech is measured like when the hands are highest, and they're like, okay, what happens here?
Or when the club changes direction or whatever, yeah.
Stops going this way and starts going that way.
Yeah.
But different parts of the body would have a different time that it starts going that way.
Yeah.
And something you told me years ago was that when like you decide to do something, once the motion is happening, it has already been happening by your body earlier in time. What was that?
Well, I mean, the forces have to come, so like...
Force before motion.
The forces have to come before the motion, and so that's where we're finding some of the fastest swingers have those forces happening way earlier in their swing than you would ever think they would be happening.
Right.
And so
I think the most basic example of that is that when we did all that stuff with Milo, is that the club moves back. Let's say the club moves back now, right?
Yeah.
But if you go back in time, maybe even like a full second earlier, you'll start to see him push into this lead side away this way, and then the club goes back.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, the club came back here, but that doesn't, especially if you're trying to like copy somebody's swing by what you see.
Right.
There's stuff that happened beforehand to make that happen.
Right. You can't see the forces with your eye. So I think I've seen more swings on the swing catalyst that I'm fooled often, where I would look at the video and say, oh, that guy's got to be this. And then I look at the force and he's not. Okay. One good example was when we were at Claude Harmon's place with Dustin Johnson. So like belt buckle point at the target, I assumed he'd be massive torque.
Yeah.
And he actually wasn't. I think because he gets his hand so high, he needs that horizontal force to kind of shallow it. And he actually had way more horizontal and way less torque than I would have thought.
So something that I've heard from so many like really dynamic swingers, another swing catalyst guy, Drew Cooper,
Yep.
He says to me all the time, I'm like, where do you feel the top of your backswing is? And he's like, well, it's here. And I'm like, yeah, but where do you feel it? He's like, oh, me personally? He's like, here.
Right.
What does that mean? Because I've heard that from a couple of people where they've taken it back forcefully, and then right about here, they feel like backswing's over. Let me start to go that way. Even though you see him going, you know, he makes a backswing that's a full backswing. So
yeah, well, and that's kind of
contradictory, but what does that mean?
Yeah, that's kind of like what we talked about before. So like that negative where they create like some force pushing them in this direction or away from the target, that happens so early. And most of them that's happening before they've even though he feels like his backswing is over here, in terms of the ground reaction forces, I would say his backswing's over before the club even moves. Right before the club even moves.
Okay. What does that mean?
Well, that's kind of what we were talking about before with that horizontal force.
Right. And then so once the club starts moving here, he's already putting things in place to go that way.
Yeah. Well, what's happening first is the forces are acting that way, but the club's going this way, so he's decelerating it. So he may be correct that when he gets to about here, he's completely decelerated the club, and now it's creating momentum going back the other way.
So we might see, if we had just like a miles per hour gauge on the club itself, we might see from here to here, it's accelerating.
And then it's slowing down the rest of the time.
Staying the same, maybe at zero.
Sure.
Now it's starting to slow. So in his mind, he's kind of right that about here to here, he's done the work of the backswing.
Right.
And then from here all the way to here, he's doing the work of making it go that way.
Yeah. Well, he'd be decelerating it as it's moving back and then accelerating it as it's coming down. Yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the decel force is a force in this direction.
Yeah. So the club's moving there,
I'm slowing
but
it down.
the force is going that way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a mind trip, but you can, the thing that I think is cool, and I think we lost our golf ball. Did we lose our golf ball?
I don't know. We'll find it. We got lots of them.
The thing that I think is cool is that for a while I was thinking, wow, if you want to take advantage of having this early going back this way, you've got to be like really like abrupt off the ball, and you have to really create a force like you're tossing a big medicine ball that way.
Yeah.
But you can actually get that force you can take it back slow and still do
Yeah.
the same stuff that Drew's doing.
Yeah, and you've worked on that feeling so much. Even when we slowed you down in that earlier video, you still had that force the whole time. Yeah, so I think that pattern's pretty ingrained in you. And I think as we slowed you down a little bit, it seemed to add a hair more speed and
Yeah, I was just trying to hit the ball there, but
right, and be a hair better strike too. So I think what you found, I mean, as you got moving faster off it and you started to raise up, then we started catching some thin because we couldn't, and some fat.
We can use the Reebok torque training board again. One of the things you would think that if you really want to make this thing torque, which is torquing the ground and which could lead to more speed, you would think that you would go torque it that way, hard for the takeaway, and then that way, hard for the downswing, and put those two things together. You know?
It's hard.
But it's hard, and not only that, but like if you had to put the sweet spot on the button,
Really.
Some people could, some people couldn't.
Definitely not, And I think that's where yours actually works way better when you keep your feet still on the way back and then just rip it down on the way through. Yeah, there you go. So that thing moves way more.
If I insta rip it, it'll rebound, but if I slowly torque it and then rip it, you know?
And that's timing it up perfectly.
But this is what we're talking about with this really cool idea, the backswing being over by about here, is I can start thinking this ways
super early,
early, even though I'm not being very dynamic or fast on the backswing.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, let's hit a ball.
Okay, let's see it.
Because I think when people say like, hey, your hands were really fast out of the top, or whatever you did out of the top, or you did something out of the top, there's so much that went into that.
Before that,
that you can't really, it wouldn't be like going to the top, stop, and then having all this stuff happen.
Right.
Okay.
And I think that's where force plates are so valuable. I mean, they collected 1,000 hertz, so they're taking 1,000 pictures every second.
Okay.
So we can really see where things are happening in time.
Be patient, and then torque it.
$90.
A little faster.
100. You're doing well with the torque. That's good.
Yeah. And then actually, the vertical force isn't as chattery either.
Yeah.
That's a bag of worms we won't get into.
Yeah. We got to get that left leg posting up a little better.
Okay, so like I did on the rubber band.
Yeah. Oh. There you go. Good.
Backswing.
Good. Yeah. There you go.
So I'm going here, and then it's like backswing. It's over. Now I'm starting already in my intention because I'm slowing it down and reversing, and then
Love it.
I like that too, Scott, because then it gives you so much time in your transition. Usually your transition can feel rushed.
Right.
But if you feel that your backswing's over here, so much your transition thing.
Transition is where things go wrong, mostly. That sounded solid.
Yeah, that was okay.
A little faster, 91.6. And look at that, 103. Yeah, almost cool. At the tour average.
Yeah, so that was 82 when we came.
Yeah.
This is remaining, is usually good, and we'll talk about that at another day. But this is really exciting where I'm really torquing the ground, and I think so that's what I came to figure out today, was this blend of an athletic backswing, but keeping it in position. The thing that Scott told me today that I really am liking it, you can still be dynamic and be moving back in this way in your intention early. You just don't be so fast. And you kind of get the best of both worlds, the best of what I can do anyway.
Right, and I think that just matches what your nervous system can do the best. So I think that Goldilocks drill we did at the very start is what will give you a really good idea of where to go with that in your own swing. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you're interested in more with Dr. Scott, go to swingcatalyst.com, or there's links in the description of this video for all kinds of stuff that you're going to want to see there. And follow him on social media as well. He reposts things.
Really exciting announcement that I was talking to Dr. Scott, and we are going to be doing a Be Better Golf School at the Grand Golf Club in San Diego on April 3rd and 4th. Dr. Scott is going to be there with his Swing Catalyst dual force plate, the same one that he just used in the last month with Colin Morikawa and Tony Finau and other PGA Tour players. He's going to have that down there with his Foresight machine, and the great coach Lee Dietrich will also be there for a Be Better Golf School. It's going to be a very small school. There's only going to be about 6 or 7 students there for 2 days, really getting deep into the forces that you can create to make your most powerful and consistent golf swing. It's really something that you can't just figure out on your own, because you can't really ever guess it. You have to be able to see what's going on under the hood of your swing, and the best way to do that is using the Swing Catalyst plate and also the expertise of Dr. Scott, the #1 ground reaction force scientist in golf. So really exciting opportunity. Go to bebettergolf.net/school or send me an email with any questions to contactbebettergolf@gmail.com. Lots of new videos coming out with Scott, Lee, and Mike Malaska, and Blake Cannon, and a bunch of other things coming up on Be Better Golf that you're going to want to see. So click the subscribe button. Thanks. Bye.